Hi everyone, it's Andrea over at Sewspire.com, and I am here today with the second tutorial in our ongoing clutch series here at Sewspire for the month of October. Today I am going to be teaching you how to draft your own pattern for these metal clutch frames. These are called Kiss Lock frames. And you could just do a Google search and you'll be able to locate an ample supply of those. We are going to craft this 6-inch Kiss Lock purse together today, and you could use it for a variety of purposes, but I think it makes an absolutely adorable clutch for your clips here on your sewing table, and then there's no chance of those spilling out. The larger frames, if you're able to get those, are awesome for the cell phone, lipstick, a little bit of cash or your cards, and a fun night out on the town. So for this project, we are not going to be hand sewing and we are not going to be gluing. Those are just my personal preferences. You can absolutely hand sew on your frames or glue them if you like. I am going to show you how to use key fob pliers or a cam press with the key fob attachment to simply compress the frame without damaging it so that you can install these Kiss Lock frames with ease without having sticky or sore fingers. So if this sounds like a project that you're interested in making or learning how to make, please stay tuned and I'll walk you step by step through this process. So the frame that I am going to work with today is 6 inches across. And it does have these little holes here, and the purpose for these holes is so you could hand sew this to the little bag which you're going to be making. I am not really one for hand sewing, so I'm going to show you a way today that does not involve hand sewing or glue, but please keep in mind that those are viable options if that's what you prefer, and you would be able to use either one of those methods with this pattern that I'm going to teach you how to draft and sew today. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is get a really sturdy piece of paper, and I have already drafted my pattern, but I'm going to walk you through those steps. So get a piece of paper that's larger than your frame, and you're going to position your frame on that piece of paper, and you're going to trace right around the top of that frame, and that's going to give you this first line right here. Then with your frame still in place, I want you to mark where that frame ends at the bottom here, because this is a very important part. This is where you're going to stop sewing when we're stitching the base of this. So make sure that you delineate that very clear on your pattern. So after you mark where that frame ends, go ahead and use your ruler to draw a line straight across there. Then the next thing that you're going to need to do is add in at least an equal distance at the bottom of this, and that's going to give you the base of the clutch here, which we're going to box ours out so it's going to have a little depth to it, so that's going to consume some of this height here in the base. So I like to just double that. You can of course go longer if you want or shorter if you want, but for your first one I suggest that you just double that distance. Then draw in those lines and connect them at the base here, and then go around and add in 3/8 of an inch seam allowance all the way around that. So in total you will have your interior clutch line, your seam allowance, and then the line that delineates the frame from the base of the clutch. All right, so once you get that, then go ahead and cut it out right on the seam allowance, and this is going to be your pattern. Then cut out 4 slightly larger pieces of material and back those with Pellon 808. It gives the quilt weight cotton material a nice paper-like finish. Okay, so once you have your 4 pieces of material prepped, then you are going to take this heavy-duty paper pattern that we have drafted, and you're going to position that on top of your fabric panels that are backed with the Pellon 808, and you're going to go ahead and cut out your 4 pieces. Then you're going to pair up your pieces so you have 2 sets of panels which are right sides facing, and you should have a good idea of which ones are your interior and which ones are your exterior at this point. So you're going to position those right on top of each other, right sides facing, and then you're going to take your template that you made and you're going to crease that on that horizontal line which delineates where the clutch frame stops. And so just position that folded template on top of your fabric pairs there, and you're going to align the base and just draw a line right across there so that you know where you're going to stop sewing. So now what we want to do is use 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and stitch from that line down across the base and back up to that line on both of these pairs. And you're going to want to back stitch well at that line. And then once you have the bottom half of those panels stitched, then you're going to reach inside and go ahead and give this clutch its depth. So I have been measuring about 1.5 inches across there, and that gives me a nice depth on these clutches. You don't want it too deep because that's going to consume a lot of height. So please keep your proportions in mind here, but for this 6-inch frame, I'm going to mark across here 1.5 inches, and that's going to create the depth for the base of the clutch. And I'm going to do that for all 4 corners. So 2 for the exterior, 2 for the interior. And you just stitch right on that line. And when you reach inside of there, you're aligning the side seam with the base seam. And now take the panel which will be your exterior, and you're going to turn that right side out, and then you're going to take this top edge and you're going to press that inward 3/8 of an inch so that you have a nice finished edge all the way around the top of this exterior. And then for the interior, you're going to leave that inside out. There's no need to trim off those corners. They're just going to fold in and they'll add some stability to the base. But for the interior, you leave that wrong side out, and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to press over that top edge 3/8 of an inch so that you have a nice finished edge all the way around this clutch. I use a combination of clips and the heat of the iron to accomplish this. Okay, and then once you get your top edges pressed, then you're going to fit your interior inside of your exterior and consolidate your clips. And your edges should align nicely, as should the little V's on each side. So once you have that all aligned, then place this up on your machine deck and using a very scant 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, stitch from that V all the way around to the opposite V and up and around that top lip so that the interior and the exterior are joined. Okay, I have stitched all the way around that top edge using a very scant seam allowance so that my interior and exterior are joined. I want to clean up any stray threads now and then give it a good press so I can minimize the wrinkles in this. And then now I want to bring back over my kiss lock frame, and I am going to slide the material up in between that ridge of the frame, and I want to keep that centered on there. I'm going to be working one side at a time, and then you have a couple options for this next step here. We're going to compress this wire frame so that it grips this material. And so I am going to be using my cam press with the key fob attachment on that. And what I have done is taken these little rubber caps, which are the caps that come with the button sets, which we worked with last week, and I have positioned those on top of that hardware so that it does not damage my frame. You can work with the key fob pliers or another pair of pliers, but just find a piece of material that will cover your pliers or hardware so that you do not damage your frame. So once I have one side tucked up inside of that clutch, I'm going to put that up under my press at center there and get that so that I can secure some of this fabric so it will stop moving. So I'm just going to position that right up under there and depress. And then that's gripping that fabric nice. So I want to go ahead and move all the way across this side of the frame, depressing evenly across there. And with each press, I check and make sure that the fabric has not shifted because there's still plenty of room to fix that. And then you're just going to continue all the way around this frame until you have that pressed in place. And so you will keep moving all the way around the frame until you have that material secure in between that channel of the frame. And I wanted to give those of you who don't have a cam press another option. These are the key fob pliers, and as long as your plastic tabs are intact, you can come right along this clutch and tighten that down with ease with a hand tool like this. I need to replace the caps on mine. So either key fob attachment will work. You can either use your cam press with a key fob attachment or a set of key fob pliers to install these little kiss lock frames. And then if you wanted, you always have the option of putting a little bead of glue inside the channel. That won't work for me because my frame has these holes on the front of it, so the glue would just ooze out of there. These holes are so you can actually hand stitch this. So clamping it and securing it with the pliers works very well. And these of course make darling little purses for a night out on the town. But what I am going to use the smaller one for, that I'm very excited about, is to hold my clips here on my sewing table. And just like that, I have two darling kiss lock purses. I think this is the easiest way to install these frames. I'd love to know what you think. If you have any other tips or tricks, please drop those down in the comments for everyone to benefit from. I'd like to thank you for joining me today for the second tutorial in our ongoing clutch series here at Sewspire. I will be back next Friday at noon Eastern Time with another clutch project for you. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate that because it helps us reach more people. So as always, until we meet again, please know the creative genius in me will be celebrating the creative genius in you. I hope you all have a beautiful week, and I'll see you next Friday.